Hiya, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go do a podcast?
Sure.
Jump in.
Ladies and gentlemen, fillies and genticles, dragons of all ages, and everyone else, welcome to Pondering Pony. I'm your host, John, and with me I have my co-host. He's mysterious, sinister, and spooky. Jay!
Yeah, I think this episode is coming out a few weeks after Halloween, but we're recording it before Halloween, and it's very that specific part of that episode is a good Halloween part of the episode. It goes in a different direction from that point, but we'll talk about it.
Yes. Anyway, this is a podcast about toy media franchises, 2000s nostalgia, and whatever else we want to talk about. And this week we are back to talk about My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Season 1, Episodes 9 and 10.
Yeah, so episode 9 is called Bridle Gossip. It was released December 2010, directed by Jason Thiessen and James Wooten, and written by Amy Keating-Rogers, who we've talked about before. Yeah, what's the story here, John?
We also have some songs by Daniel Ingram for this one, another Pinky jingle. Story for this one: Zecora, a zebra who lives in the Everfree Forest, shows up in Ponyville, causing all the ponies to freak out and hide from her. But Applejack's little sister Apple Bloom is curious and follows Zecora a ways into the forest, but the main six stop her. In doing so, they walk through a patch of blue plants called Poison Joke, and they hear Zecora say something ominous. And the next day, the main six wake up with mysterious ailments. Apple Bloom once again sneaks off to find Zecora, and the main six once again follow. They don't find Apple Bloom, but they do find Zecora, who is brewing a potion of some sort. They burst in, worried that Zecora is planning on cooking Apple Bloom, and Apple Bloom walks to the door and explains that Zecora wasn't trying to hurt anyone. And Zecora explains that the plants are Poison Joke, which is a plant that causes silly ailments, and Zecora was brewing the cure to give to him. So the ponies apologize for being racist and help Zecora clean up her house and brew up the cure. Yeah, I joke. I've often joked about in previous episodes about pony racism, but no, this is the racism episode.
yeah, this is like very much the racism episode. Very like, yeah, I didn't realize that the main six were also racist.
It's every time we go back to this episode, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, everybody was so racist. I mean, it is a very classic racism story to do, where it's like, oh, this new person, oh, we don't like them, they're weird, and then they learn, oh, they're not weird, we just misunderstood them. This one gets to be a little bit more on the nose with its racism because of how they depict Zecora, which, yes, everybody is aware that this is the racist episode. Yes.
Yeah, I wrote in the notes here, I'm sure the fandom is very normal about this episode.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, knowing what I know about the Brony fandom, I'm assuming there is a lot of hoopla around this episode.
I mean, most people are normal about it, but the hoopla is just like, oh, everybody was famous racist for this episode. That's funny. Which often appears in the Benny Abridged series. It's like, oh yeah, they make a point that they're just being silly for this one. It's odd because like going into this episode, I'm always like, yes, this is the racist episode, the racist allegory, but I think of it more in terms of like, oh, don't judge the book by its cover. But I'm always shocked and floored every time I watch it and be like, oh no, the main six and all Ponyville, they were really racist, hiding the children, turning out the lights, close the doors. It's so extra. And like they were like being mean towards Trixie, but here, oh no, they don't even care to talk to the.
And it's odd. It feels a little out of character for a lot of these characters. They're they're acting in not particularly friendly or hospitable ways, which, I mean, that's like obviously the point of the episode. And yeah, it's always a difficult topic to approach in a fantasy setting because you're doing it through allegory rather than dealing with it head on. Um, so it could be a little bit, the allegory doesn't always work. Um, this feels very like 2010 in its sort of focus on more individual racism, which I think is like a good message for kids of like, hey, some people are different and that's okay. Um, but yeah,
But I've
there's some nuance
seen,
that's missing.
yeah, I've seen a better version of this episode in other stuff. I know
Yeah.
that Ponies has done a different version of this kind of topic that I actually think is much better, and we'll talk about
Okay.
that later down the line. Um, but yes, it's it's an interesting bit of history.
Yep.
And like you said, I do think it is a good lesson to teach kids: don't be racist towards the zebras, um,
Yeah.
or in general. But it is one of these things where it's like, oh no, Zakura's the only one who gets this treatment, really. Because, like,
Yeah.
oh, Gilda, nobody batted an eye, Gilda. Zakura, she comes to the town, she stands there digging into the ground, she's wearing a cloak. Oh, that's the shocking part.
Yeah, it it's very blunt in what it is doing, and especially like the ending, which I finally clipped the sound clip since I reference it so much. The flight of the Concords, I'll be the racist dragon.
And suddenly, he wasn't racist anymore.
Yeah,
Just with the main six showing up and like, oh, guess we were wrong. We're not racist
yeah,
anymore.
that's mostly true. Like, obviously, there's obviously there's still the bickering about Rarity and Applejack and their differences, but that's not quite racism.
Yeah, that's
Oh, okay.
more like classism, though not necessarily class economically so much as lifestyle approach.
Yes, we might return to this topic another day. For they do some different stuff. I don't know if intentionally,
Okay.
but it's this is the one that's very much this is the racism episode, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah. To get into the characters here, Twilight disappointed me here. Like, she starts out as the skeptical one, but then lets herself get caught up in all of the fear mongering that her fellow ponies are spreading, especially Applejack, which bold choice to have the character with the southern accent be the most racist one. Like, it
Yeah.
makes sense, but I feel like some people are going to take that very personally. Perhaps people who should be taking it very personally, but also, yeah, that was an interesting choice.
Yeah, it's for Applejack fans. That is like their sad element of this character. Um, I don't know. I might argue that maybe no. I joke about this. Maybe that Rarity was the more racist one because
Okay.
she faints multiple times in this episode. And I know she's fainting because of she doesn't think Zakura's fashion is very good, but you could obviously take it out of context where it's like, oh, she's a zebra, faint. When she's clearly being like, oh god, she has to live with those ugly stripes her whole life. Oh, that's the
Yeah.
reason why she's fainting. But it is very,
Yeah,
I don't
I
know,
guess
not
Applejack
great.
is more vocal and is, she is the one who is making all of these absurd claims, whereas like Rarity is more, it's more internalized, or not internalized, but it's
Yeah,
under the surface. It's a little bit, she has like these little justifications that she's made up.
and
Um,
Pinky, she sings her jingle about, oh, she's an evil enchantress, which Pinky, like looking back on Pinky, this is an odd episode. Like again, it's really
yeah,
odd that everybody's racist. It's really odd that Pinky is, 'cause she's usually the one who greets everyone and tries to get to know them. But
yeah.
for I don't know how the whole thing with Zakora started. I don't know how long it's been going on. Um, but it's a shame.
Yeah, it is like there is also an aspect of it of, I don't know, maybe in the last like 5 years especially, there has been a lot of soul searching people have done as they've realized like, oh, people who I thought were good people have been falling for racist propaganda in a way that's like, yeah, I could see a more a more nuanced version of this episode maybe trying to get into that topic, but I don't know, that feels like outside the scope of what a kids show can do.
Yeah, I mean, this is also a different time period, of
Yeah,
course, where
yeah. Again,
we
this is
weren't quite
2010s. This is
very
Obama as
reflective.
president, and racism is an individual problem that can be
Yeah.
overcome by realizing that you were wrong by eating pizza in the car with Mahershala Ali. Whatever
um,
Green Book is about. I have seen Green Book. I just don't remember
yeah.
what it's about.
Speaking of green books, Twilight is judging her own book in her library by its cover.
Yeah. Which seems kind of weird for her to be, because she is so like studied in books that she's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to read this book because this book, yeah. Yeah, I
Like,
don't know."
what? Hexes and curses? Nonsense. Magic? Ponies? Manticores? That's normal. uh,
Apple Bloom is the
Apple
only one
Bloom.
here who doesn't get caught up in the race. It feels like very accurate to the way kids tend to think about these things of like, they haven't necessarily internalized any social ideas. So they're a little bit more open to other people and other perspectives. So that's good for her.
Yeah, it's funny watching this again, where Applejack follows her, and then Apple Bloom just leaves her behind in the middle of the Everfree Forest to essentially die. Um, it's like, oh, a bird could swoop in and take this tiny little pony away. Um, Luckily, she runs into her friends. Very
Yeah,
luckily,
yeah,
but like that could have been a bad situation that I don't think Apple Bloom would have thought or noticed about until it was too late. Um,
yeah.
yeah, Apple Bloom. We've seen her before in the first episode, very briefly, but here we finally get to see a little bit more about her. Um, what are your thoughts on her from just this one episode?
I don't really have any thoughts besides she was the only one who was actually acting in a decent manner.
Okay, all right,
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have anything more in depth than that.
that's fine. Just this is just her little first episode to do stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm sure we'll talk about her some more later. Speaking of other characters, we have Zikora.
Yeah. She is way too graceful and nice towards the other ponies. Like the way that they treat her and the way that she treats them is very very good on her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She knows that in order to get you accepted, she just has to be kind and good in this town. So she just sticks for that. Yeah, I like Sakura. I like the idea of this character where the show, especially in the early seasons, would depict different cultures as like different species. So they kind of generalize the African culture as a zebra. Um, but I don't know, it adds a bit more to the world itself than just ponies, which I think was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm curious to see going forward how they handle that, because it can be the type of thing that could go very wrong very quickly as well.
Yeah, so we're gonna see an example of that later on in this season.
Okay.
Um, which, yeah, it's weird the choices they made for that episode.
Yeah.
But here, I think they did like a generally good example of just like, oh, yep, here's a different species of ponies. Not ponies, a different species. Here's a zebra, which unfortunately Zecora is the only zebra we're going to see in the show.
Okay.
Man, I've wanted for so long to see more and just to explore that land, but no, we don't. Which I think is partially due to not trying to make a mistake of representing a different culture too poorly,
Yeah.
which makes
Yeah,
sense.
because I mean, it is the way that she is presented is kind of leaning into certain stereotypes, which doesn't mean that it is inaccurate. But yeah, there is like an element of othering to her character, which
Which is very par for the course for classic cartoons,
yeah, yeah.
especially in the 2000s. Interesting thing about Zakora, she was originally meant to be a much more reoccurring character.
Okay.
Um, like we see her in next episode, but we're not going to see her again for quite a while. Just like Trixie, like she was originally supposed to be more of a recurring character. She was, I guess, supposed to be taking the Moochik role of the mentor figure who has all the answers to stuff that
Okay.
the main six would go on for these adventure stuff. But of course, one, because Hasbro wanted this to be more slice of life, they kind of had to pivot. And two, the writers don't particularly like writing Zecora because I don't know if you noticed, most of her dialogue she's speaking in rhymes.
Yeah, yeah,
So, um, I know that bronies when they're writing fanfics often be like, "Oh yeah, Zecora, she's a fun character." Oh no, I have to speak in rhymes, and so you'd often have pretty bad writing with her. But it is a unique character trait that, when done right, it's fun. But
yeah,
yeah, you can really tell that sometimes they struggle and stretch with the rhyming.
yeah. Yeah, I think they actually kind of saved themselves a little bit by not having her recurring in that role, not just in terms of the writing, but more on an accidental level. The I don't remember what exactly it's called, but there's a trope of when a black character is presented as like this person who is magical and in touch with that side of the world in a way that other people aren't. Um, and it's not the worst racist trope out there, but it does occur in a lot of things in a way that can feel very um othering.
I
Um
don't know if I've seen that trope, but okay.
that you might not recognize it. It'll pop up, and often it's like, yeah, I don't know, because this example are like in the Matrix, the Oracle being a black woman. It's less that that specific example is problematic and more that there's just this general trend. I think one that gets cited a lot is the Green Mile. I think Spike Lee specifically called out that one.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a movie a couple of years ago that was like a satirical version of that. But essentially, I think a big part of it is um, relegating black characters to be like these supporting characters who have to support the white main characters, which would, in this case, it's like um with, since they're all ponies and they're all different colors, like they're, the race stuff doesn't map as easily onto, which I think is why it's kind of weird that they're bringing in, hey, here's pony racism and it's zebras, because it's like, yeah, the characters aren't racially coded except maybe Applejack. But yeah, they seem to be existing outside of real world race. So to bring in like real world race elements in such a strong way, um,
Which
it's odd.
is
I'm not going to
probably
say it.
why in
Yeah,
later seasons they try to avoid these
yeah,
aspects. But yeah, again, this is the episode where they tried something and people often forget about it. So yeah.
okay, yeah,
So yeah, each of the main six has a different poison joke effect done to them. My favorite one is by Fluttershy, where here it's Flutter
yes,
Guy.
with Blue Mankuma showing back up to do the voice here.
Yeah, the deep voice, like the Bibble one.
Yeah,
Um, this one became a meme recently, within the past year. There's like a
okay.
2 second thing where I don't know if you've seen it, but
I don't
yeah,
think so.
it was like a TikTok clip that.
Oh, I'm not on TikTok, so
Yeah, it was an audio that people didn't know what the context was or where it's from. So when I heard her thing for the first time, I was like, oh, they're using the My Little Pony clip. Either way, Flutter Guy, it's a fan favorite moment, which is so funny. Just giving this very shy, soft spoken voice, like a deep voice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought that was the
Others,
funniest of the
yeah,
various
others,
ailments.
Rarity has a shaggy dog hair.
That led to some fun animation stuff.
Yeah, everyone. Oh, so interesting thing about Poison Joke is that everyone's like poison aspects kind of has to do with their main characters in some regard. Where Rarity, obsessed with fashion and beauty, gets the shaggy dog look. I
Yeah.
guess Pinkie Pie talks a lot. She gets the tongue that doesn't speak. Twilight, Twilight. She uses her magic horn. She does a lot of thing, and here she gets the floppy horn. Which, if you were an immature person, you would make the
Yeah,
obvious
she
joke.
needs some or something.
Oh no, Jay, come on. This is a kid show. We don't go there. Uh, but yes, that's yeah, that's the obvious joke to make. Um, Very interesting though. I was watching very closely the scene where they're interacting with the flower, and there's a moment where Rainbow she's flying through the flowers. The
Yeah.
flowers are just making noises and moving, and then she pokes Twilight's horn with her
Oh,
hoof,
okay.
and that's why her horn is all blue and floppy. Um, yeah, Rainbow Dash. I think Rainbow Dash is probably the second funniest one for me, in that her wings are upside down and she can't fly the way she wants to. Obviously, she could walk, but no, she has to fly, and she crashes into everything.
Yep.
Uh, and then, of course, Applejack is tiny. I don't know what that says about her character, other than that she's being big towards her younger sister.
Yeah.
Interesting thing to think about.
Yep. Yeah, I like that the various ailments have different effects that, as you were saying, based on the characteristics.
Yeah. And I also mentioned earlier, I do like the zebra design for Sakura. She looks very unique compared to other ponies. I'm curious, like, what other zebra designs would look like,
Yeah.
because she does have a form of cutie mark, which looks like a tribal image. I'm curious, like, what other stuff would look like. We'll never know outside of fan fiction and OCs, but yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily surprised that they didn't revisit this idea nearly as much later on, or even this character. Um, but yeah, we'll see. I assume as we go along.
Yeah. Going on to some more visuals, we have some animation errors. First image is when Apple Bloom leaves Applejack behind. What do you think is wrong with this
Well,
image
yeah,
here?
her head is not connected to her body at all.
Yeah, I yep, that's a image to look at. Second image is when they're in the sugar cube corner. Um, the main six are in the dark, hiding from Sakura. There's one pony here that's missing something. Do you see it? To the
Does
right.
Rainbow Dash not have her wings?
To the right. I mean, that's partially true, but that could just be the angle. But to the right.
Okay, to the right. Oh, Fluttershy doesn't have a tail.
Yes. There's a couple shots in there where she's missing her tail. That's.
Okay.
Yep. Anyway. On to performances. Like we mentioned before, Blue Man Kuna returned to play Flutter Guy. And then we have Brenda Tricklo as Zakora, which I think we've seen her before. I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah, I thought she did a
And
good job.
yep. Here we mentioned her before, but we have Michelle Krieber as Apple Bloom. She gets to do more here. And yeah, she is the young voice of this cast. Um,
Okay.
does a solid job. It's weird. it again, it's really weird going back to season 1 and hearing how young all of these people sound and like knowing just how their voices evolved throughout the years. But yeah, this one was interesting.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so it looks like I have forgotten her name already.
Brenda Tricolo.
Brenda. Yeah, she was in Barbie and Her Sisters in a Puppy Chase.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Any other performances you want to point out here?
No, we've talked about most of these people, I believe.
All right. Yeah, the song that we have in this one is Evil Enchantress, which we get two versions of. We get the one by Pinky and then the other one by Flutter Guy, which lots of fun.
Yeah, I like the second version. I think having someone else singing the songs gave it a different quality than the usual Pinky jingles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Moving on to Illusions via the Pony Wiki. So the title of the episode might be a pun on the term idle gossip. What do you mean might? It totally is. Or gossip's bridle, also called a scold's bridle, which is a medieval punishment and mild torture device used on women who were verbally abusive or unpleasant. Okay. That's the more you know. After having been affected by the Posen joke, Rarity's coat and mane resemble the fur of a commandor or puli, two Hungarian breeds of dogs with matted locks of fur. Okay. The nickname Spike gives to Applejack, Apple Teeny, is pronounced the same as the name as an alcoholic drink, Apple Teeny, paralleling her original name, which is also the name of an alcoholic drink, the Applejack, which is we talked about the Dolly Parton song.
Yeah.
Poison joke is explicitly compared to poison oak, which is a poisonous plant. Have you ever had poison ivy or anything like that before
No,
in your
I've
life?
had some version of stinging nettle, but that's
Mm,
um yeah, I don't know if it was technically stinging nettle because it was in the cloud forests of the Andes, so it might have been
yeah.
something else. But yeah, not pleasant, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so when Zakura comes back to Ponyville, the flower ponies once again utter their iconic lineup, the horror, which is, as mentioned before, the Heart of Darkness and Apocalypse Now.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. IMDb trivia. So, Blue Mancuna has the distinct honor of being the first male voice actor in the history of any iteration in the franchise to voice a main female character. Fluttershy was nicknamed Flutter Guy because of this. Also, Spike calls. Yeah, this is like a fact that's often mistaken by the fandom. Flutter Guy is called Flutter Guy in the show. It wasn't made by fans.
Okay.
Um, in any way.
Yeah.
In Africa, some women of some tribes would wear these gold necklaces to extend their necks, which is a design used on Zakura. Uh, Friendship reports the ponies learn to not judge someone by their appearance alone, so racism is bad. Yep. Uh, when Twilight is cursed, her horns become useless, but she was able to use it to to levitate the hairbrush so she can brush her hair. Huh. Yeah, that did happen. Well, no, okay, that's a thing to notice. Derpy Hooves does not appear in this episode, which makes the first time she does not appear in an episode.
Oh.
How sad and shocking. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about this episode?
No, just
And suddenly, he wasn't racist anymore.
All right, good. But
good old
before we move
Jermaine
on to the
Clement.
next episode, we wanted to take a moment to tell you about where you can find us. We're Binging Barbie Podcast on Instagram and Tumblr, Binging Barbie on Blue Sky and Serialized, and Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast on Letterboxd. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a 5-star review and go join our Patreon at patreon.com/Binging Barbie Podcast. There I do some reactions to this show. So, yeah.
So yeah, next up we have season 1, episode 10, Swarm of the Century, released December 17, 2010. This one is written by M.A. Larson, who wrote an episode of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and then also episodes of Littlest Pet Shop and DC Superhero Girls.
Yes, M.A. Larson is a very popular name in the fandom.
Okay.
Uh, we'll we'll learn why later on down the show because of some stuff. He became a very big meme. He loves the fandom so much. Like he's very appreciative and talkative towards the fandom. Yeah, I've met him. He's a really fun guy. He's written a
Okay.
lot of my favorite episodes of the show. Um,
Okay.
so we'll hear his name again, and
Yeah.
I'll probably joke about it. He also has a book trilogy called Pennyroyal Academy. I have the
Oh,
first book I'm reading through, so if you like books, maybe check it out. It's kind of in a similar vein as what we're watching, in that's the age range, I guess. But
okay.
hey, if you like watching My Little Pony, you like Larson, then read his books.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of the story, in this episode, Fluttershy encounters a small flying creature and takes it into her care. And she meets up with Twilight and Pumpkin Pie, who are preparing for a visit from Princess Celestia. Fluttershy shows him the creature, only to find that there are now two more with it. And Pumpkin Pie immediately recognizes them as tribbles. Gremlins. Parasprites, and runs off to find a trombone. And Twilight is entranced by the little creatures and takes one. The next morning, Twilight wakes up to find her house full of parasprites who are causing chaos. So she runs to Fluttershy's house and finds that it too has been overrun by parasprites. And the ponies try to herd him into the forest, but end up sending them right into Ponyville, where they start eating all the food. While everyone is busy, Pinkie Pie keeps showing up looking for various random musical instruments, and Twilight uses her magic to stop the parasprites from eating food, but they start eating everything else instead, leaving Ponyville in shambles. Pinkie Pie shows up playing all the random instruments, and like a Pinkie Pied Piper, she leads all the parasprites out of town. Princess Celestia lands just outside of town and tells Twilight that she can't stay since an emergency came up elsewhere, that being Philadelphia. So that ball of parasprites, they rolled over to the next town. Anyway, the main six are left to sort out the mess in Ponyville, and that's the end.
Yeah. So this doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I do have a funny story, which I may have told you at some point, but I don't think I've told it on the pod. Um, this is my grandmother taught preschool for many years, and I was not present for the story, but I think it is a fun story worth telling since the parasprites look kind of like flies.
Yeah.
So she was teaching preschool one day, and this fly shows up in the classroom, and of course the kids are all freaking out because they're preschoolers, and preschoolers like to freak out. So my grandmother said, "Oh, don't worry, that's just my friend George." The kids were like, "Oh, it's George! Oh, he's so cute." That was that. The next day, as they're doing pickup after preschool, one of the parents walks up. "Where's Mrs. V? Where's Mrs. V?" Goes up to my grandmother. "What did you do? Last night, my husband was swatting a fly and our kid starts sobbing. He says you killed George." So, poor George the fly. My
Is
grandmother
that
had
why
to
you
come
were
up with
named
a.
George in some times?
No, that's actually not why my nickname was George.
Okay.
That had to do with the clever bot or one of those things.
Okay. I also have a fly story
Ooh.
that I just now remembered. There was this trip that we took to Brazil, because I used to live like right next to Brazil, and there was like these waterfalls in Brazil called Iguazu Falls, um, and so we would drive over across the border. One time, there was this fly that was stuck in the car that took a trip with us. Um, and this fly would just not leave me alone. It kept buzzing around me, kept sticking to me, and it was annoying. I was complaining the entire trip. Um, and then after that, flies just decide to stick with me. Every once in a while, you'll just be another random fly of the day that would just buzz around me, and my parents would be like, "Oh, it's the fly from Brazil. It followed you home." And yeah, that was when I was in elementary school, and I haven't seen the Brazilian fly in a while. So anyway, this episode, it's we know what story this is. It's the Tribble
Yep.
or Gremlin story of the multiplying creature. Um, I think this is one of Larson's just like go-to books. If he's like joining a new season, it's like okay, or a new show. It's like okay, I need to write an episode for something. What have I done? All right, let's do the triple episode. Um, he also wrote an episode of Gravity Falls where Dipper clones himself. So
Oh, okay, yeah.
yeah. And he I think he copied the script from this one when he did DC Superhero Girls, because there's a couple of lines that are exactly the same when he did that episode. So um hey, it is a classic story. I've
Yeah.
seen it done in multiple times. I saw it done in Foster's Home. I don't think Larson wrote that episode, but
Oh,
that's the one I go to when I think of the multiplying creature. Um, have you watched that Star Trek episode?
I have, though it falls into because my sister is a big Star Trek fan, so I have seen some Star Trek, and she'll occasionally be like, "Oh, you should really watch this classic episode." Except I have a problem, which when I was in high school, I would get home from school and I would be tired because you're in high school and you're always tired when you're in high school. So I would lay down on the couch in the living room, and then my mom and sister would watch Star Trek on the TV while I was laying there. I'd nap. And now, anytime I try and watch a classic Star Trek episode, no matter how intentional I am about staying awake, I fall asleep.
Oh,
So I'm sure if I was like really, really trying, I could watch these episodes. So yeah, I have seen part of the episode, but I have not seen. I was napping through part of it, but just
hmm.
sort of like a Pavlovian response of, "Oh, Star Trek is on time for a nap." But
Yeah.
yeah, no, this is I actually did a little bit of digging because I was curious if that where this originated, and the the first version of the trope that I found is actually from the short story "Pigs is Pigs" by Ellis Parker Butler from, I believe, like 1910 or something. Um, which there's actually an adaptation of it that Disney did, a short adaptation, which I just watched before getting on the call here. Um, Obviously not one of their more iconic shorts, though it was Oscar nominated, and it is just in that one it's guinea pigs rather than a sci-fi concept.
Hmm.
But then yeah, obviously Star Trek picks that up, and that showed up in other places. I was thinking of the Marvels has a version of this. Or I guess
Oh, with
yeah,
with the goose,
yes.
the cat. Yeah, yeah. No, that one definitely was probably inspired by the Star Trek episode.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's like Star Wars even has it with the porgs a little bit, even though those aren't like multiplying necessarily so much as they're just taking over the ship.
Yeah, yeah. The Star Wars has a version of that story, maybe. There's probably like an old Legends book that has
Oh
that
yeah,
story.
as well. I was
Probably.
looking at like TV tropes, and there was some Star Wars stuff in there, but I mean, it made me think of the movie specifically with the small, adorable. Although I don't really think that the para sprites are adorable, but small, adorable
I
little
mean,
creature that
it's
takes
just a
over.
colorful ball with big eyes and a smile. So, depending on what you find cute, you might find that cute.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm not super into insects, even stuff like butterflies. I'm like, I don't. They hold no charm for me. So yeah, didn't really do anything for me. But I mean, it. Yeah,
yeah, you don't like butterflies?
I mean, I
I
don't
like their
hate them.
wings. It's just like you look at them in the face. It's like, hey, you look weird. Anyway,
But yeah, this is. I like the moment when Twilight does her spell to get them to stop eating the food, and I mean, you know what's coming. You know it's going to backfire spectacularly.
yes,
Then we just
yes.
get the complete destruction. I'm assuming that Ponyville will be fine by next episode, but it is funny to think about what if they just like have to abandon Ponyville.
I mean, I mean, I'm sure Ponyville's been messed up a few times. Yeah, they're constantly going through stampedes
Yeah.
of any variety, stampedes of bunnies, of cows, of parasprites. I mean, Applejack often seems to be building new barns. A lot of the times we see her, so her losing her barn this time is just par for the course with her, I guess. But yeah, most of this episode is the ponies dealing with the parasprites, trying to find a way to stop them. Throughout the entire time, Pinkie Pie, she's like looking for instruments, and that leads to her conclusion of being the Pinkie Pie Pied Popper.
Yep. Yeah, this is I was curious because it's a myth that I'm not as familiar with, so I did actually go and look up a summary. And yeah, this is only really the first part of the story that this is adapting. It doesn't have the darker second portion, but yeah.
Yeah, yep, where we kill the children. Um,
I was also realizing as I was reading that there's a I won't say which because it's spoilers, but there's a recent popular film that is kind of an adaptation of the Pied Piper.
yep, that one. The one with the funny run. Um,
Well, that
yeah.
now you've given it away, but
I mean, I'm sure people would know if they watched the trailer in the theater. Um, yeah, yeah. My history of this episode is I think this was the first episode I ever watched of the show.
okay.
Where I had watched the abridged series, and then I was like, oh, let me see what happens if I type My Little Pony on the YouTube thing. Um, and at that time, Hasbro didn't like their episodes being on YouTube, so this was like one of the only ones that was there. So I watched it. I don't remember what my thoughts were because that was 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
sorry for that. But yeah, that's a little tidbit about me that I often forget about because it's just so random. Anyway, yeah, this episode.
Yeah. On to the characters. Yeah, Pinkie Pie. It's very funny that she's the only one who knows what to do. She kind of seems like the character who would least understand that. But I mean, it's fun because it allows the conflict to escalate since no one understands what she's doing. And once again, she is like so stuck in her own world that she doesn't even realize how insane her various requests for instruments sound to the other ponies.
She could easily take 2 seconds to say, I need instruments. They're going to help with the parasprites. Instead, she just constantly asks for instruments and never explaining her situation, which I think most people find really frustrating about this episode is that Pinkie
Okay.
Pie's not really good with communicating something very important. Because it is a very common thing in this episode for Pinkie to show up, say, I need this instrument. Why aren't you guys helping? I'm so frustrated. And then she leaves. And then the girls yell at her for not helping.
I was kind of assuming that she assumed everyone knew as much about what was going on as she did until the point when she actually does stop and try to explain things. And that at that point it's like everyone is actively ignoring her.
She doesn't quite explain things. He just says, I need instruments.
Well,
Uh,
there's the moment of when they're herding them away and Pinkie Pie is like talking
Follow
with them.
me. I need instruments. What are you
Yeah.
doing? Follow me.
And then
But again,
they run
she ne-
past her and then she's like,
never
"Wait, let me explain."
but she
And
never says that this is for the parasprites or this is how we deal with it, um, which is what people find frustrating. Which, sure, on
yeah.
rewatch it is, but like if you're watching this for the first time and you have no idea what's going on, like why she's doing this, then
Oh, I mean,
that's.
I knew immediately that's why she was doing this.
I'm curious about Pinky's
But
history with the parasprites.
yeah,
It's like, how does she know?
yeah.
Like,
But I mean, yeah, the sense that I got though, because she immediately is like, "Oh, of course, those are the parasprites. Let me go get instruments." I think that was literally just she does not realize that no one else understand what's going on. So yeah, that would be my interpretation as to why she isn't explaining herself.
sure, yeah. Um, she's also she eats all the food um, for the princess thing. I mean, I have no idea how she's not been fired from her job. um,
Yeah, yeah,
but anyway, speaking of troublesome characters, this episode
yeah.
unfortunately is Fluttershy.
Yeah, she causes so many problems here. Like, she brings the Parasprites to Ponyville, which, I mean, she doesn't know what they are, so you can't really blame her for that. But then she keeps one of them and causes the second outbreak. Although, I don't know if that was like she caused it or if there were more that had just accidentally been left behind.
I think it's more so she left one, and in the span of 5 minutes, it grew into that many. But yeah, she shouldn't have kept the one.
Yeah,
Honestly, Twilight should have been more worried when the Parasprite multiplied a second time.
yeah.
She was like, "Oh, well, that's not right." Instead, she goes to sleep and wakes up, and the whole town is like overrun. Um, Everyone has different reactions. With Rarity, it's forced labor, where it's like, "Oh, you're useful now. Hold these things," which I think they were just holding on her own, but it's a joke to think about.
Yep.
Um, Her first thing is just like, "Oh, you're very helpful. I'm glad I kept." um, Applejack. Luckily, the apples in her apple farm were not eaten. Thank
Yeah.
goodness. That would be so bad for her crops. Instead, they lose their barn, which is going to be a reoccurring thing. Uh,
Okay.
not quite. For some reason, she's always building barns. I don't know why. But yeah. Twilight wants everything to go perfectly, so she freaks out. She puts all the work on Spike. I don't know why her library is a clutter. Like, what happened?
Well,
What were they doing?
she's always like in a clutter of books when we see her, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, my head canon is that Rainbow Dash always crashes into the library, causing a mess. Like
Okay. Yeah.
last episode, she was trying to fly through the window. I don't know if you saw. Then she broke down the door to fly in. Rainbow Dash is a menace. Celestia shows up.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that she doesn't know what parasprites are. Like that's shocking to me, because
Yeah. Cuz
she's at least a
there's
1,000 years old.
yeah. I think there is an interpretation of the episode where she shows up, sees the Parasprites, and goes, "Oh, something bad happened." Um and then is like, "Oh, I'll pretend that I have to go somewhere else and I'll like give some little hints that I actually know what's going on." Um
But the reason why she leaves is because that bowl that they rolled into the forest went over to the next town,
yeah.
which is apparently Philadelphia. I don't know. The map of this road doesn't make much sense. But yeah, maybe she knows, maybe she doesn't. Mm.
Yep.
It's just an interesting tidbit knowing what I know. Like, huh, how does she not know? That's interesting. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to see her again, but yeah, she doesn't really show up
visuals, I
much.
guess.
Yeah.
Uh, one thing that I find very interesting is that we begin the episode with Twilight looking at the ponies, like setting up for the thing, and they put up a banner that says "Welcome, Princess Celeste," and that seems weird to me because that's in English. That's in plain English, and that's the one of the only times in the show we see plain English.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, because after this point, or at least in future seasons, they come up with like a pony language that's weird looking and indiscernible. But yeah, here it's just plain English. That's just always weird to see.
Yeah.
Onto some animation errors. First one is when they're at Fluttershy's cottage and they open the door and the Purse Sprites come out. I don't know if you'll notice like what's going on here, but if you look at Rarity, like she's jumping up or something, but what's do you see what's underneath her?
I mean, it looks like she's colliding with Twilight Sparkle a little bit.
But specifically underneath her, you see her shadow. Um,
Oh.
That's
I
supposed to be on the ground, but here it's like in midair.
her, yeah, her
Her asset
shadow
shadow.
jumping with her. Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. Sec one might be a smear frame, but here you see that the eyeballs and their head are not connected for a pair sprite.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yep. Performances are pretty much all the same. I mean, Celestia, Nicole Oliver is back. Oh yeah, Zakura's in this episode. She doesn't know what's going
Yeah,
on. She doesn't
brief
know the solution.
appearance.
Her brief appearance before her disappearance. Yeah, which I like that she showed up in this episode. I just wish she'd come back for more.
Yeah.
And then you have Mr. Cake here as well. We don't have any new song for this one, so nothing on sound, unless you want to talk about the sound effects.
I didn't notice anything special with the sound effects.
Okay. All right, so on to the illusions via the Pony Weekend. The title of the episode is a pun on the term Storm of the Century, which refers to a particularly damaging weather event. The Parasprites have a similar shape and appearance to the fairies from Legend of Zelda. I don't know if that's true, I've not seen it.
Kind of, but yeah, I don't know if I would
That, yeah.
necessarily. I would say they're more fly-like than that.
Mm-hmm. The premise of this episode is similar to that of the Star Trek episode The Trouble with Tribbles. Writer Emma Larson had gremlins in mind when writing the episode. Spike does mention that he fed the Parasprites right before they went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
The Princess Celeste banner is a reference to the commitments. I don't know what that means or if it's true, but okay. The scene in which Applejack uses her herding skills to collect together the Parasprites features sound-alike music from the theme song from the television series Bonanza. Yep, I heard it this time. Infestation and Pink Pie's use of magic to lure the Parasprites out of Ponyville were adapted from the legend of the Pied Piper. Yep, we said that. Twilight's plan to Twilight's plan to build a fake town is a reference to the 1974 Mel Brooks film Blazing Saddles. Have you seen that film?
I have.
Okay.
Not in several years, but I have seen it.
Yep. Picky's line, "Have tuba, will travel," is a reference to the Western television series Have gun, will travel. That is... That...
I've heard
right.
that phrase before, but I didn't realize it was a TV show.
That is a phrase to have. On to IMDb trivia. When Pinkie Pie plays the harmonica, the Parasprites in Rarity's bag briefly react to the sound, foreshadowing how to stop them. I did not notice that. Did you?
I did not either, I don't think.
Okay. Friendship
I
report.
guess, yeah, I think I kind of I clocked that something was going on because I knew I knew that the music was going to tie in somehow.
Okay. I don't remember what my initial thoughts were. Like, that's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
friendship report. Twilight learns sometimes the answer to a problem comes where you least expect it, and it's best to stop and listen to the ideas and perspectives of others, even though they don't make sense at first. Yeah. This is the first time Twilight gives her friendship report to Celestia in person.
Yeah.
Maybe outside of the first episode. Okay, so Holly Dash. In this episode, in the background where the Parasprites are causing chaos, you have this random pony in the background that runs across the screen, and this is one of the first My Little Pony OCs for the show that was made by one of the animators. They were just playing around with pony assets, they created this thing, and for this episode only, they had her run across the screen, and her name is Holly Dash. Little behind the scenes tidbit there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, interesting. And lastly, Derpy appears in the background. You can see her at the top left when Twilight's going through the town and doing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing about this episode I've not mentioned is that it's very prominent for a Brit series because of Friendship with Witchcraft. There's a lot of random lines that other Brit series would decide to like pay homage to. So it's always fun when we get to hear it, and they always say like the catchphrase of the episode. So yeah. Anything else about this week's set of episodes?
Don't think so.
Right. In that case, Thank you, everyone, for listening, and make sure to follow us on social media on your podcast platform of choice and whatever social media platforms you want to find us. We will be back next week, going back to Generation 1 to talk about the special Escape from Katrina. Yes. Don't forget, Jay.
Yep.
G1. Don't
G1.
mistakenly watch the next episodes, okay?
I had to
G1.
make that mistake once so that I don't make it again. You know how that
Yeah.
is?
Yeah, I get it. That's what mistakes are for.
Yep.
All right.
Why do we fall? So we can learn to pick ourselves back up.
So that we can learn to fall again. All right. Bye, ponies.
Bye, ponies.
Shooby-doo, shoot, shooby-doo.